Aloha, beautiful people. Paul Brecht of HSRN here for another episode of our ongoing OIA graduate series, and we've got an exciting one here today. Joining me now on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, a multi-time selection of the all Big West teams throughout her 3 seasons thus far, an Iron Woman for the Rainbow Wahine, who's going into her 4th year for the women's soccer program, a 2019 graduate of Moanalua High School, Kelci Sumida. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
First things first, how you doing? Off season right now. I would assume probably got to get ready here in the coming weeks, though, for the season. Yeah.
Yeah, just definitely trying to get my touches in, trying to get back in shape before starting preseason. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
And obviously, I said an OIA series, a graduate of Moanalua High School. Before we dive into kind of your entire career, take a walk down memory lane, I wanted to give the people just some stuff about Sumida if they didn't really know already. In your career and 3 career seasons thus far for UH, you've accumulated 30 points, 12 goals, 6 assists. I mentioned it and alluded to it, a bit of an Iron Woman for the program, starting 44 of 45 total games that you've appeared in. The only one that you didn't start, I believe, was your debut in college against USC, where you came off the bench. You won 4 straight OIA East titles back at Moanalua with twin sisters, so a family ordeal, a 4-time first-team all OIA East selection. You scored 16 goals your junior year and earned second-team All-State honors for that effort. Lettered twice in volleyball as well, and I think that's kind of where I want to jump off is back in high school and maybe even a little bit before then. Can you tell us how you got into soccer in the first place?
I started playing soccer when I was about 4 or 5 years old. So kind of just got put into it. And I played a lot of other sports growing up too as well. But I think over the years, soccer has always been one of my favorites. So that's the one that I stuck with.
If you don't mind my asking, what other sports did you play growing up? Or are there too many to recall?
I played like basketball, baseball, soccer, volleyball, tennis. And yeah, I think that's kind of it. But I wasn't that good at that one. So yeah.
As you went on with your soccer career, obviously it's gone pretty well. I mentioned you also were a volleyball player back in high school. Did you feel as though playing other sports growing up, and especially volleyball later on in your development in high school, did that help you at all on the soccer field and vice versa? Or did you think that you needed to focus more attention on soccer as you went on in life?
No, for sure. I think volleyball or playing volleyball definitely helped me with like other aspects of the sport, such as like explosiveness and being able to like jump for headers and all of that kind of stuff. So I think that I'm really glad that I didn't specialize in soccer until like pretty late in my high school years. So I think like overall, it definitely helped with a lot of stuff for soccer.
It makes sense. I think you hear the same sentiment from a lot of athletes who grow up playing multiple sports, talking about the benefits of being a multi-sport athlete. And then I'm curious as well. I mentioned you had a twin sister. Did you two both play those sports growing up, or did you each kind of have to find your own path in terms of those sports growing up, though you did come back together to play soccer?
No, we pretty much did everything together. So whatever I played, she played. And like even for volleyball like that, she was always on my team for that as well. So yeah, we did everything together.
And so doing everything together, part of that I mentioned was playing soccer together in high school. You guys were pretty successful, it seemed, at Moanalua in that time. When you look back, do any memories stick out, whether it was, playing with your sister, like a specific story, or is there something that you took from that time that you remember so vividly now still?
I think one of my favorite memories of like high school soccer was, so she played like defense, right? So like we were on like kind of opposite sides of the field. But I think that whenever I scored a goal, she would be the first person that I would see that would be like celebrating. Like she had this little like jump celebration that she would do where she ran with like her hands in the air and all of that kind of stuff. So I think that was one of my favorite things. Like if I scored a goal, I would look for her first to celebrate with. And yeah.
That's really cool. A family ordeal. I have to imagine that it was fun for your family and friends as well who knew you both. That's cool. A little bit of a Sumida sandwich, I guess. You up front and her in the back there. That's a lot of fun. And I want to keep the conversation at Moanalua. As you look back at that time, how did both athletically and academically the school prep you for UH and your college careers in the classroom and on the pitch?
I think Moanalua High School is like a great school, both academically and athletically. So I think that I was really lucky to be able to go to such a great school and to have them prepare me for both the academic side and the athletic side, because I think that they had really good teachers there that helped me to prepare for college courses and all of that. And on the athletic side, we had a competitive program that helped me to adjust to kind of that speed of play and that physicality that college soccer brings.
And you mentioned college soccer, and I'm glad you did because that's where I want to go next. Obviously, a recruiting process as you went into it. You played Division I soccer. I would imagine that was a dream growing up as a young soccer player. One, was it a dream? I probably shouldn't assume. And two, take us through the recruiting process. How did you end up becoming a Bow in the end? Did you consider other places, either here in Hawaii or on the mainland, or was it always UH?
Yeah, playing D1 soccer is always like a dream for every like little girl growing up playing soccer. So my recruiting process was kind of interesting. So at first I was actually committed to a different school. I was committed to Portland on the mainland. And a lot of my recruiting actually had to do with my twin sister as well. So at first we both decided that we wanted to go away and go to the mainland to try and play. So we didn't have to end up at the same school, but we wanted to be somewhere that would be like kind of close to each other or where we can still see each other all the time. But so at first we decided on the mainland, but then she changed her mind and she decided to commit to HPU. So that's kind of how I wanted to change my commitment, and I wanted to stay home and play for UH as well.
So originally, how close was UH in winning out, or was it really just a wanted to go mainland versus stay home, and you wanted to just kind of stay together? It was just kind of you guys wanting to stay together.
Yeah, first I was kind of set on going to the mainland, but we were up there for one of like a Surf Cup event and in California, and I was like, oh my God, like I'm homesick already. And I was like, if I'm homesick now for like we were gone for like maybe 7 days, I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna last in the mainland if I wanted to like live up there the entire time. So that's kind of when I decided to make my decision, and I emailed Coach Bud, and like 5 days later I was committed.
It seems that it also worked out for both sides. I'm sure Coach Bud was pretty happy to bring you on board. I mentioned at the top, you've had yourself a pretty successful 3 years thus far. And can you take us back to the OIA part of it? Recruiting going into college, were there any struggles or benefits when it came to exposure when you were at an OIA school? I know you also played a year of club soccer. Did you feel club soccer was a necessity for you to end up playing at the next level?
I think both had their roles in helping me to play at a competitive level. So I definitely have all positive things to say about playing at an OIA school. Like I think that it gave me a lot of exposure in the same way that playing for a club team does. So I think that both experiences have helped me to get to where I am now in the college soccer.
Gotcha. And then once you did end up getting to campus, you mentioned a little bit of a flip-flop during the recruiting process. So you might not have necessarily felt as settled in as other recruits might have. Once you got to campus, how long did it take you to feel totally comfortable both in the classroom and on the field? Was it a quick one because you did stay kind of home, or did it take a while?
I think I actually got adjusted pretty quickly because like there was so much going on at the time. Like I didn't really have a chance to like relax and think like, okay, this is like starting. Like it just kind of all happened so fast. And like before I knew it, like I was playing my first game, and it was just crazy about like how fast time flew.
And ever since, like I've mentioned, you've been incredibly successful at UH, 44 starts and 45 games. You didn't start that first one, and then ever since haven't really looked back. As you've experienced so much now, including a global pandemic during that time, if you could go back to that high school senior who had just graduated, who's going to UH for the first time, is there any advice you'd give her? Is there anything you'd warn her about that you'd want to try and get her ready for? Or would you want things the same exact way?
I think the only thing I would tell her is to hit the weight room, you know, like I didn't really start lifting until I got to college, and that probably showed on the field. Like, oh, yeah, I would definitely say start lifting weights, and yeah.
It's a good piece of advice for all athletes out there, I think. So I mentioned it, staying home. I'd imagine that you have some local support still. No? What's it been like staying home? What's it been like having the support of the people here? And like you mentioned, not having to go through maybe that homesickness that you would have on the mainland at mainland schools.
Yeah, being able to play in front of my friends and family is definitely one of the biggest factors that made me commit to UH. Like, I think that my mom, my dad, my grandparents, my aunties, uncles, like they all come to like all of my home games, and my mom and dad come to all my away games as well. So just being able to have that kind of support, like I'm really lucky, and definitely is one of the biggest things that why I wanted to stay home and play for UH.
So I think the biggest question now is who cheers the loudest? Is it an auntie? Is it an uncle? Your mom?
Yes, she's like the whole crowd could be cheering, but like she has like a distinct voice. Like that would be the one voice that I can hear. It's always run faster or something like that. Like it's the one voice that I'll be able to hear.
I'd imagine that's probably a good thing most times. Motivation or something like that.
Yeah, motivation.
And then moving forward, in a new world of college athletics, we've seen the new NIL stuff. Do you have any NIL partnerships that you've been able to work with here since the new era of college athletics has been born in?
I do have one. It's with Hawai'i USA FCU, and I was so grateful to get that one. It was such a big one, and it was a great experience because we did like a community event. So it was a lot of some of our local athletes, like all signed an NIL with them. And we were able to do things for the community, help to promote one of their debit cards. And I think that it was just a great experience overall.
I was going to say, it's definitely a new experience that it's been hit or miss, as some people have those opportunities and some people haven't had them quite yet. Is it something that you found has changed your college experience, being that you did start your college experience before NIL was adopted?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's like a huge thing. I'm not really familiar with like all the rules and everything, but it's definitely something new that's exciting, and it's a good opportunity for all athletes to get involved in.
And then obviously, when it comes to being a college athlete, there's a student athlete moniker that comes with it. And the student part of it is something you take very, very seriously, a multi-time selection to an all Big West academic squad. Obviously, you've had other pretty big awards, namely this past season being named to the College Sports Communicators Academic All-District team. 1, can you tell the people what your major is? 2, tell them what you'd like to do with it.
Okay, my major is kinesiology, and originally I wanted to become a physical therapist when I first got into college, but since then I've changed my mind about it, and I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do after I graduate, whether it be going into like getting my master's or going into more future schooling or going straight into the workforce. I don't really know yet, so that's a good question.
And the good news is you'll still figure it out. Everybody does. What interested you in kinesiology in the first place? Was it that PT connection, or was there something deeper with it? Were you like a science person growing up?
I think it was mostly like a PT connection. Like I kind of just wanted to help other athletes recover from injuries, similar to how I had to get help from like my athletic trainers, PTs, and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah.
I found that, funny enough, that's a pretty common thread between a lot of kinesiology and PT people, that growing up they had to deal with some injuries where they needed help. So it's cool to see them want to help later on. I'm sure you'll find a way to help, even if it's not necessarily PT. Before we end up going, bringing us back full circle, we're going back to Moanalua. Is there anybody that you can think of? Is there anybody who stands out to you? A teacher, a coach, a janitor, whoever it may be, that you just want to give a shout out to, who helped you get there or get here today from Moanalua?
I would definitely shout out my coaches, Coach Nikki, Coach Janet from Moanalua. I think they helped me a lot in my development, and they helped me to get confidence on the field. So definitely shout out to them.
It takes a village to raise great athletes, and a great athlete is absolutely what you are. I want to say thank you so much for your time today, Kelci Sumida of University of Hawaii Women's Soccer. Phenomenal athlete, phenomenal player, and somebody that everybody listening should go check out when the season starts. Thank you so much for your time, and look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you for having me.